So, Bill, tell everybody a little bit about what you're up to these days and where you're at.
Well, I'm out here in the great Southwest. Been out in Las Vegas here going on close to, I think, 7 years here in the fall. Took a job promotion. Really like it out here, except for the June, July. I still complain a lot when it's 100 degrees when I'm going to the airport early in the mornings. So Southwest USA, I live Northwest Valley, Las Vegas, called Summerlin.
Okay. And a long way from Northmore High School. That's where you came from when you came from there to Ashland. So how did Bill Royce get from being at Northmore High School to becoming an Eagle?
Well, that's a great question. I mean, looking back, and bear with me, Dusty, and my mental Rolodex here. Sometimes it doesn't go back as quick as it should. I actually signed with Ashland like the mid to late part of April, so let that sink in a while. Most of the touted after recruits, and this was a different era than you have nowadays. There was no internet, no email. But the signing day had come and passed in February, and I was promised all these wonderful MAC opportunities. Different schools were recruiting me in the MAC. And it just turned out to where, hey, you're like my 20th guy or 20. And at the time, when you're a young kid, you don't understand that's part of the rejection process. But we got the preferred walk on. Hey, come up to Kent State, come over to this place, Akron, wherever. And again, nothing discrediting about those institutions. You know, I wasn't quite sure. And plus, too, you're recruiting a kid out of a high school. I was a all-state wide receiver, but I was kind of transitioning from the standpoint I was getting taller. They'd only had certain game film on me. So from the coach's perspective, I can't really blame them. Hey, here's a kid from a small school. Where are we going to put this kid? How is he going to do a roster? So long and short, Dusty, Coach Stanley came into our office and said, hey, kind of like what we see here could be a project. So they'd offered me a partial scholarship. And then it ended up, that was my senior year, ended up, I think, getting fourth or fifth in the state in the shot put. So then Coach Gallagher says, hey, would you like to run track and field? I'm like, absolutely. So that was a partial scholarship. So I had partial scholarships or be a preferred walk-on at a MAC school. So it was pretty simple for me. And I'm very thankful now that, I had that opportunity to come to Ashland. Turned out pretty well for everybody.
I would say so. So in the football part of it, you obviously play for another college football Hall of Famer. We'll get to that later with Dr. Fred Martinelli, but also Gary Keller, who's also in the AU Hall of Fame. So how much did you learn from both of those coaches?
Oh, it was great. Gary Keller, and I've said this before, I mean, I think he's one of the best defensive coordinators. You can look at college, you can look at pro. You can look at high school. I mean, Dusty, or should I say Rusty?
No.
I want to make sure. No, it's Dusty, because I know Jason Miller put me up to that, by the way.
I'm sure he did.
I just ran into him here recently. He came out for a visit. But, Gary Keller, Dusty, Ashland, and just like with Tim Rose, I mean, I've been to the games, I've been back. That's that same mindset, that same passion that guys really want to play for them. We knew more about the opposing offense than they did. We knew formations. We knew preparation. We got a scouting report. I can't say enough about Gary Keller. Obviously, Coach Martinelli kind of held everything in, as a head coach. And that's back to the coach's credit. They were actually hands-on. I mean, you see some of these coaches at the big school, they're kind of letting their coordinators run the program. But Coach Martinelli he'd stick his head into the defensive room, but he knew with Coach Keller that, in our position coach, Coach Sockerman's still there. He was a great coach. I had a really good position coach, Harry Beers, Coach Beers, who had a successful coaching career at Gallion, senior before coming over to here. So you've got a lot of really good knowledge, a lot of good techniques. Again, from quote unquote being Ashland, we had some really high profile individuals in our program at the time.
Absolutely. And you also played in an era where you shared the field with Ashland High School. There was no Jack Miller Stadium at that point. You dress at Sarver Field and drive up to Community Stadium and play your games, and you end up with 71 sacks. What was that like, being so dominant at the D2 level?
Well, I think a lot of it, again, it comes back to Coach Keller, preparation, the individual techniques, the game breakdowns. And like I tell a lot of people, they think it's all about Bill Royce, but it was, I was my teammates, the guys I lined up with. I talk about we a lot. Even the honor, Dusty, getting inducted in the College Football Hall of Fame, it's just, I can't believe it. But I also think that all my teammates are in there with me. All the D2 guys are in there. They bring us back every year, and I was here in Las Vegas. I saw Danny Woodhead, and I just said, "Hey, last year, congratulations! We need more D2 guys in." And he's Chardon State, a great guy, great
Yeah.
back. He had a good NFL career. I'm rooting for those D2 and D3 guys to be in the Hall because it's extremely difficult to get in as any player. Let alone, I think there's 1,000 of us right now. But I want my teammates and coaches and the Ashland University fans know that they're in there with me. It's just not Bill Royce.
Absolutely. And I was going to mention that rip off some of those defensive teammates that you played with because you played with some great defensive teammates while you were here.
Oh yeah, I mean, starting out, I mean, you can't go anywhere without Morris Furman, Ron Greer, Dave Wilging, on the line, Tony Leghart, Jason Taylor, just some guys. You can't go anywhere without Tim Houseman. Okay, the
Yes.
guy ran a 5 point whatever going downhill, but he had the biggest heart. Probably didn't have his helmet fitting, but he had kind of that pinhead, kind of like I got now. But we played together as a unit, and you played for the guy beside you, and and I'm sure with Sammy Holler. There's going to be some guys I'm going to remember, going to miss here, the mental Rolodex, Dusty, but it was a great group. You had James Carsey on the last segment. He was a good player for us. So many guys, but everybody bought into the scheme. And when you see the results, when you are literally destroying the team across from you, it's refreshing. You see that buy-in. And again, credit our coaches for preparing us. And we kind of beat up on the offense pretty good at my career there. So they were kind of our tackling dummies in practice. So you got to give a shout out to the offense. They gave their best shot. So
That's for sure. And then you talk about you were in the AU Hall of Fame, but you talk about the College Football Hall of Fame, and there's very few D2 schools that have one, let alone two, and to have both you and Dr. Fred in there has to be special.
no, it really is. Plus you look at Ashland. I mean, how many coaches, with Miss Ruth, God rest her soul. I mean, she'd come out and bring out popsicle breaks. I mean, it was kind of like we were a college, but it still had that family feel. And that's just some of that special time. That's such a special time for me at Ashland, for football and for track and field as well, being a member of the track and field teams, because in that locker that you guys have done for me, which was really nice there in the center, I put my one of the plaques where I think I finished fourth in the indoor nationals for track. But I'm not the football player my career without the track and field with Coach Gallagher, Coach Ricky Vaughn. Those guys gave me the physical tools that helped me excel on the football field with the track program. So, and then, AG's there right now, and Judd Logan, God rest his soul, he passed. I mean, these are really good people. You don't see that at one school, let alone. So, I mean, the track program, the women's basketball. I'm just a proud AU alum out here. I cheer for all the schools, all the sports.
That's awesome. And let's talk a little bit more about that track because you mentioned it. You got the partial scholarship or competed for Bill Gallagher, who without him, who knows where the program went to Judd and now AG. So you had that experience as a dual sport athlete, which is pretty rare at this point.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd love to tell you I was a sprinting champion at AU. I was fast, but I was a shot putter, a shot discus, and tried to pick up the hammer. Ricky got frustrated with me. So he goes, yeah, just do a couple turns, do a 2-turn, throw 160 and get like points for the team, which we did. And then throw the weight indoor. Don't try to hit anybody. Again, just trying to score points for the team. But I really, really like the shot put and I really like the discus. So those are fun to compete with those.
Absolutely. I always like to do the next to last question in these Eagle Rewinds. Gloat on your family. Obviously, your parents support as you're coming up high school, AU, and all that stuff. So tell me about all that.
Well, I was fortunate with my father's passed, but I still have my mom. I have my brother. I'm still a single guy right now, but the family. But my folks made every one of my games. I played 44 games. They even made it up to the Snow Bowl. So that's something you want to see in the stands. And it was just something that was real special to see them, come up and support. And looking back, if I would have went to a West Coast school to play football, they couldn't have seen the game. They were at every one of my games. So it was a big deal for them going out and traveling every week or, kind of like a mini vacation. And at the time, I've been working in sales now for 30 years. You don't understand kind of what it is, getting out of the work and going to the weekend and seeing somebody play. So that was a big plus for them. So I was very, very blessed and thankful for that.
Excellent. So finally, we always close these with, if someone you know or somebody maybe you don't know but knows that you went to Ashland University and their kids thinking about doing it, what is your sales pitch to get them to come to Ashland?
Oh, I would tell them for sure whether they're going to go for sports or for academics. I mean, I'm going to tell them too, no disrespect to Ohio State, even all those Bucknut fans there in Ohio. Again, it really is accent on the individual. You're going to get that, obviously depending on their field of study. Maybe there's some schools that might be better prep. If you're looking for a good, well-rounded education and experience, beautiful campus, me, I kind of grew, so I'd spent enough time in Convo like everybody else. I mean, there's so many variables there, Dusty, in that community. A good school, it's hard to take a good look at, Ashland, because I know, that's the thing about here in Nevada. There's not as many schools versus you go to Ohio, you can almost trip over a college every other mile. So, but you guys definitely stand out. Take away the Division 1 to 3. You guys are just a excellent education, excellent institution of learning. So that's always my pitch.